Hey guys, welcome back to Jab Reads with episode 4. This week's topic is short story madness. Now this is going to be the first in a series because like I said in last week's video, that short stories I felt like weren't something that were really acknowledged in the literary world unless you're a fan of anthologies or you just are so diehard with an author that you literally follow them through all these short stories. I've met countless people where they said the short stories obviously aren't important enough to be a part of the big world, so why read them? But that is false. You usually find all sorts of cool little homages and cool little glimpses into past, present, and future books with short stories, as well as fun little adventures for these characters, and it's something that you can always take with you. Anthologies are a great read to take on you on vacation because you're not committed to try to finish this book that's so serious that it needs your full attention. Short stories are something that you can read during a car ride or during a plane trip, and it's just something that's so great. And it's so cool because it gives you an insight on more of their writing capabilities that I do want to talk about those. And so why not have a video series about it? So in this week's topic video, I will be talking about 2 to 3 short stories from 2 to 3 different authors, and it's going to be quite fun. But I did want to quickly talk about how in last week's video, when I talked about Dead Until Dark, I said that I would be doing a spoiler talk, which I am, but just not in this video. So look below for the link to the actual spoiler talk, or you can go straight to my actual channel and you will find the Dead Until Dark spoiler talk. And that will be the first in a series as well. That'll be the first in the spoiler talk season that I want to start doing because, like I said last week, I wanted to do the spoiler talk with you guys and get more interactive with that book title with you. But I felt like since I said this week would be all about the spoiler talk, I felt like that was kind of a cheat because for those of you that are actually paying attention weekly, you are looking for a new topic, and talking about last week's topic, that's not a new topic. So I wanted to do Double Video Friday, and I'll probably be doing a Double Video Friday every single month where I'll be giving you the new week's topic as well as the previous week's continuation. So for this week, we have the Short Story Madness and then the Dead Until Dark spoiler talk. So here we go. So I know that this is a book channel where I talk nothing but books, but if you've paid attention with my Girl on the Train review as well as my Dead Until Dark review, I've talked about some TV shows and some movies, and that's something I want to start doing. I want to do some recommendations, and if it's a book turned into a movie or a book turned into a TV show, I definitely want to talk more about that and recommend that, and definitely hear you guys' thoughts about the transfer from 2 different mediums with you guys. So, real quick, on top of the movie, TV show, and book talk, I do want to give a huge shout out to Lady Gaga and the Pretty Reckless for the release of their 2 new albums, which are super, super good. If you guys haven't heard them yet, or if you don't know who they are, which if you don't know who Lady Gaga is, who are you? But if you haven't heard these albums yet, they're really great. What's really cool about them is both of these artists kind of channel a different sound per album. Lady Gaga does it hugely. If you followed her along with The Fame Monster, Born This Way, and Art Pop, she has this distinct sound for each one of them. And for those of you that don't believe me on The Fame Monster, if you go back and listen to it, the lyrics as well as the instruments, they just definitely feel more darker in tone compared to the bright and poppy, vibrant dance tone that you get with The Fame. But we're not here to talk about music, we're here to talk about books. I just wanted to give a shout out to them for their wonderful, wonderful albums. Joanne is such a great album for Lady Gaga. I feel like it's a great contemporary sound. She does very good, so I recommend that. And with the Pretty Reckless is Who You Sellin' For, they kind of go back with the roots of rock and they get a more bluesy, kind of jazzy, soulful rock feel to it. So it's really cool, especially for you music buffs out there that enjoy all different types of rock. So let's go ahead, we got that out of the way, and I do want to do a quick book unwrapping real quick because I got my first book haul kind of thing. So I will do that and then we'll actually move on into the real topic. So as a fellow viewer of a lot of different booktubes and booktubers and book reviews and all that kind of stuff, I was always curious as to how they got their boxes and boxes of books where they did their cool unwrapping and unboxing book haul videos. And so I looked around online and I found a few different websites. There's like Owlcrate, there's Uppercase, and I went ahead and signed up for Uppercase, but it's these really cool subscription fees that you just pay for, and they send you some cool little goodies and a new book for you to read in the mail, and you can then use them for whatever you want to do. And it's just something that kind of gets you more in touch with the literary community because you get bookmarks, you get cool reading guides, you get personal letters. For this book in particular this month, I got a signed copy of it, and it's one of those titles that I've always been walking by because the cover is just so eye-catching, but I'd never actually wanted to pick it up and read it. So it was a nice surprise to actually get that one in the mail. So I went ahead and signed up for Uppercase, and they sent me this little sack, and it had the book and some fun little goodies in it, and it was actually really, really cool. It was about $23 a month. But then they sent me this handwritten letter, and so Lisa, if you're watching, thank you. I enjoyed the note. But it says, "Hi Justin, my gut reaction to this story remains the same. It's weird, lovely, magical, and stunning. I chose this book not only for its lyrically beautiful prose, prose, but also because of my belief that it will truly move you. So in the Uppercase package, I got the book, I got a character sticker, so it's just a sticker with the character on it. I got a punk rock writer's journal and a cassette tape set of bookmarks. So these here are the bookmarks. They're really, really cool. They're magnetized, so the cassettes actually open up and clip down onto your page that you're reading, but then the string of the cassette tape winds down, and it's kind of like a string bookmark that houses the page that you're reading on in the book. So I got 3 of those, which was really nice of you guys. I got my character sticker, and it's ERG. I want to say I'm saying that right. I could be saying it so wrong, but it's a fun little sticker that'll give you more insight on what the character looks like and how the character interacts with the rest of the story in the book. I have a reading guide, so for those of you that like to actually follow along with certain things, kind of like in school when you did those chapter reviews where you read certain chapters and you talked about it and read more, and it helped you kind of pause and dissect the story. This bookmark lets you go onto their website, and it lets you know from what scene you're on, and helps you interact more with quizzes and reading guides and all this fun stuff and other interactions that you can get in with all the other readers as well as the author maybe themselves. I got my punk rock journal, which is really, really cool. I'm personally not a journal writer, but I do enjoy the fact that if I do need paper, I have some, and it's in such a really cool cover. It has these punk rock literary people. So you have Mark Twain, you have Kurt Vonnegut, Virginia Woolf, Oscar Wilde, Emily Dickinson, Maya Angelou, and it's really cool because it's just a journal and you got their punk rock versions up in the corner, and I probably said some of their names wrong, so if I did, I apologize, but it's really cool because it's a weird take on the literary stars and the literary celebrities from long ago, Agatha Christie being one of the greatest. If you don't know who she is, pick up And Then There Were None, which is one of the most classic titles of hers, and it's probably the most referenced in a lot of movies and TV shows, but it's actually really, really good. So I definitely reference that for any mystery fans out there. So the book that I got from Uppercase, which I'm super stoked to read soon, is Vasa in the Night, which is by Sarah Porter. And what's really cool is with the book crate, they sent me a signed copy, which I don't know might be too bright for you guys to see, but it's in purple, so I'm actually really stoked that I got a signed copy. But it's a cool take on a fairy tale, and it's about this girl who has to encounter a witch after being sent out by her sister to pick up something for her, and it's full of crazy adventure, and I'm actually really stoked to read it and review it for you guys because it's one of the newer titles for this fall, if I remember right, and I'm actually really excited to see how it turns out there with you guys. So that video will be coming soon. Keep an eye out. Alright, so here we go with this portion of the video that you're probably waiting for, where I actually enter the Short Story Madness talk. So let's start with our first one, which is The Ghost of Ben Hargrove, which is by Zach Brewer. It is a wonderful short story which shows you the creepy side of not knowing. And what I really liked about it was whenever I've gone to some of Zach's events, no one's talked about it. I've heard nothing about the short story. I've tried to find some cool reviews on it on Goodreads, and I don't think I found any yet. So I'm actually really upset that a lot of people haven't talked about it because it's a really creepy short story, and it's just written so wonderfully. It's about this boy who wakes up in this room, and it's kind of like a cell, and all he knows is that each day there's a slot in the door, and the slot opens, food enters, and there's usually pills that he takes, and he doesn't want to take them, so he doesn't eat the food sometimes because he's like, what if it's poisoned? What are these pills actually? And so every day it's the same slot that opens, it's the same hand that enters, but one day a note comes in, and when he reads the note, this crazy adventure unfolds in this cell, and he starts having visions, or are they actually, visits from spirits? Who knows? So it's this really cool take on a really cool twist in the story, and I do recommend it for you guys out there. If you guys don't feel like getting an e-reader, you don't have to. A lot of smartphones now, if you have Kindle, or if you wanted to download the Nook app, you guys can go ahead and do that, or you could kind of suck at life and just not read these wonderful, wonderful short stories. I do know it's also on iTunes, so if you guys are an Apple lover, you should be able to download through their app store as well. And again, it's The Ghost of Ben Hargrove by Heather Brewer, but I'm always going to say Zach. So I do want to know what you guys think about that one. Let me know below. I don't want to do a spoiler talk on short stories because they're shorts. So why ruin a short story when they will literally take you like an hour, hour and a half at the most to read. So we're going to move on to our next short story. And this short story appears in the 2016 anthology Scary Out There, which was pretty much edited and published under Jonathan Maberry. He was the one that got this project together. He wrote a wonderful, wonderful foreword, and if you guys don't know who Jonathan Maberry is, I think I talked about him in a previous video, but Jonathan Maberry is the author of the Rotten Ruin series as well as the Joe Ledger novels. So if you don't know who he is, especially with the young adult Rotten Ruin, you do need to, because Rotten Ruin is a very wonderful start to a very wonderful post-apocalyptic zombie adventure series that I definitely recommend. I'll be talking about that in the Halloween special. Surprise, there's going to be a Halloween special this year. I'll be talking about that in the Halloween special, and I will be giving more insight on Rotten Ruin and the world that those characters live in, so look out for that. But the second short story that I wanted to talk about, like I said, it appears in Scary Out There. I recommend this anthology. It's very good. There's a few that I'm still trying to get through, one of them being by Kendara Blake. But the one that I wanted to talk about in here was called Death and Twinkies. It's a lot darker than The Ghost of Ben Hargrove. Death and Twinkies is about a guy who he's fed up with being an outcast. He feels it every day, he feels it every night, and he has a moment of clarity where he's like, no one's going to miss me. So he decides to walk to the local bridge, and he's like, I'm going to end my life. And he gave himself an ultimatum. He stole a bus ticket, and it's in his pocket, and he's like, I could easily get on the bus, or I could just end my life. And so he's sitting on, or not sitting, he's standing on the edge of the bridge, and he's asking himself, do I want to do this, or do I want to not do this? And he's leaning more towards, I want to do this. But before he can actually push himself to jump off, he notices there's a kid just sitting a few feet away from him, and he's like, how long has he been here? You know, like, where did he come from? Why is he sitting here? Is he committing suicide too? Should we, like, do this together? And I want to do a quick cut back to the Zach Brewer video where I talked about how suicide awareness wasn't that much talked about, but it's starting to find its way more into the literary community. So I do applaud that. Even though it is depressing to talk about and it is a tough topic, it's something that needs to be talked about. Suicide Awareness Day was not that long ago, and there's many people out there that suffer from depression and mental illness, and I'm not saying it's always mental. It could be something that just deeply depresses you. It could be a breakup, it could be your parents, it could be your lifestyle, it could be anything. It could be how you perceive yourself in the mirror. It could be a number of things. But the thing is, everybody hurts. And so I'm not wanting to turn this into a huge, depression kind of talk video, but I do want to talk about the fact that you're not alone. And so I do enjoy the fact that people like Zach Brewer are finding ways to incorporate that into their stories. And so with Death and Twinkies, him and this kid may or may not be trying to commit suicide together, but the more that they start interacting with each other, one of the boys, the second one that was sitting there, decides to tell him, like, hey, I'm Death. And so this kid's like, am I being pranked? What's going on? Is he really Death? Is this kid crazy? Is he drugged up? What's going on? But what's great is it kind of turns the tables on the subject, and it makes them actually face the reality of, is suicide really worth it? Will the pain end after your life ends? And so I definitely recommend that one for you guys. That was a little bit more of an in-depth description, so I do apologize if that kind of spoiled anything. I hope it didn't. It was whimsical, it was funny, it was witty. I enjoyed reading it. I read it at work because we were so slow, and I found myself laughing out loud at some of the scenes. I found myself actually sitting there and thinking after I was done reading it. It was a very thought-provoking short story, so I want to applaud Zach Brewer for writing it, because there's a lot of people out there that do need something like this that's so anonymous, written by someone they've never met, that's published, that's, something that's held high on a medium that we see out there, and I'm glad that he decided to write a short story about it. I want to go ahead and move on to our short story number 3, which was written by Kendara Blake, and her short story appears in Slasher Girls and Monster Boys, which is a wonderful short story collection anthology for those that are looking for something scary to read this October, especially with Halloween coming up around the corner. But I wanted to talk about specifically Kendara Blake's On the I-5. Now, Kendara Blake, I did meet you. I met her last week at the Spencer Road Library branch here in Missouri, and she is just a wonderful person to talk to. She wrote 3 Dark Crowns, like I said, Anna Dressed in Blood, Girl of Midnight, and she wrote a few others. She wrote the Immortal series, and what was really great about On the I-5 was I didn't even know she was in this anthology, because like I said, I feel like anthologies aren't that, light shed upon, and so I'm glad that she did talk about it. I'm glad that I asked about it, because I always do like finding more things written by the authors that I enjoy, and I also like pressing them onto you guys. And like I said earlier in this video, it shows you more insight on their writing capabilities and their style, and just sometimes, usually with short stories, they have to conform to the theme of the anthology, so it might be out of their element, but they might do it really well, and they might find a new style that they want to continue on with a full-fledged novel. So with On the I-5 by Kendara Blake, it's about this girl who is already dead. And the way that it's written is actually so genius. I wish it was longer, and I wish it was utilized a little bit differently, because I wanted more of the world by the time I finished it. But for what it's worth, it's a good little sip of something that could actually be a full-fledged novel. But the main character's already dead. She can feel the vibrating senses of the next local dead girl. And so it's kind of like this repetition. You crawl out of your grave, you find the corpse at the foot of the grave, you bury her in yours that you slept in. And then you find the next dead girl, you put her in the ground, she wakes up, she puts you in the ground. And it's this repetition cycle. But you have like a day to actually sit there and get your revenge on the ones that killed you. And so it's a really darker toned short story, but it's so good. And apparently Kendara Blake is actually talking to a few TV producers about it turning into a possible show, or maybe even a made-for-TV movie. There's not much that I can say about it because I just learned about it. I don't even know how much she's actually at liberty to say about it other than she's just talking to a few people about it. But I do recommend On the I-5 as well as Death and Twinkies, and I also do recommend The Ghost of Ben Hargrove. There's a few more short stories that I do want to talk about, but that'll be saved for the next short story by this video, so stay tuned for that. If you are looking forward to the spoiler talk of Dead Until Dark, that'll be the next video coming up, so you guys just stay tuned. But until then, I will see you guys next week, and remember to read. Bye.